why all that context was removed, I have no idea. So as of the recording of this video, I've seen the Daily Mail cover it, the same usual suspects, Josh Boswell and Chris Sharp, who I believe I've either talked on this show or other shows about the lack of research when reporting on these topics. Now, of course, they're beloved in the UFO conversation by many, simply because they tell people, I think, what they want to hear. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but you have to look at now the history, especially with this story, because those articles that were published in the Daily Mail completely omit any of this context. So what are they doing? Are they just simply parroting what they are told from Jeremy and George? Well, that's bad in itself. That's not journalism. That's PR. Or are they just not caring at all? To maybe they did find this and go, oh, that kind of ruins our narrative here, so let's just go ahead and omit all that. No matter which way you slice it or dice it, it doesn't look good. So it's not that I'm trying to attack these individuals. I'm sure they're fine people. I don't know them personally. But when called out, and I posted, like, why was this ignored in your reporting? I was immediately blocked. I was called a child, and all I did was ask the question. I'm sorry, it's just an honest question. Why did you omit it? I was blocked by Christopher Sharp. I have since asked Josh Boswell at around the same time frame. Have not heard as of the recording of this video. So why is that? And that's what I don't understand. That's what I can't figure out. But at the very end of the day, it stinks to have to do this as someone who comes from the mindset that the government is actively covering this topic up, but there's a lot more to it, right? That's my mindset. That's what I can safely tell you. To have to show this type of stuff makes me look like the debunker when I shouldn't. And the reason I say that is journalists should do journalism, and they should do their job. Even if there's no connection to the military exercise whatsoever, that's great. Is it worth a mention? Absolutely. Because if this was truly UAP, or maybe it is, sure, I'll accept that. You have to give the full context, because if you don't, you're either parroting a story that you are told to, you're parroting a story that you want to, but at the end of the day, you're doing absolutely no research whatsoever. So it shouldn't be up to me to look at other people's stories and realize, look, I mean, come on. We completely failed in 2 years to find this exercise to show that there's actual video evidence that's verifiable 100%, that's been in the public domain for 2 years. It's not even classified. I found it within minutes that nearly matches an identical formation the exact same night in the same area. And you can clearly see, because that video was closer and shot by the Department of Defense, you can clearly see that it's aircraft flares. Why do people like me or Mick West or anybody have to do that job for them? That doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to boast to be a journalist, then do journalism. I don't boast to be a journalist. I do say that I follow journalistic practices. I try and source everything. You can see in the Twitter thread that I had for you, there's links and sources, and you can verify everything that I put out. But what was fascinating for me to see was the reaction to this, that it wasn't the reaction that information was withheld from you. It was the reaction that I had the audacity to point it out. Why is that? Now, again, this is basic journalism. And what frustrates me is that we shouldn't have to waste the time. We should focus on things that need to be focused on. We shouldn't have to go around and have to double check all these other claims from people that are trying to sell things to you in the form of books and documentaries. Because if they want to boast to be the investigative filmmaker and journalist that they are, awesome. Do the job. Because none of us should be required to do it. But when we do, we shouldn't be chastised when we at least source the material.